Okay, we've been talking about quadratic equations, and we've looked at solving a quadratic equation by graphing it in standard form, or graphing it in vertex form. Either way, we could graph it and find our solution or our roots, x-intercepts, right? We've also looked solving by factoring, either when a is equal to 1 or when a is greater than 1. So what we're going to do today is look at solving with quadratic formula, because sometimes your solutions or your roots are not nice little whole numbers. They end up being these really long decimals. So you can't factor it. All right. So when you get a quadratic that you cannot factor, using the quadratic formula is the ultimate way to solve a quadratic. Let's just say any of them that you cannot solve, you go to quadratic formula. Okay. It's a formula and it's here. It's not as bad as it sounds or as bad as it looks. In fact, I've got a little song that will help you memorize it. And if you're in my class, you will not laugh at my singing because you are going to sing as well in class. So be ready. And in fact, sometimes after state standard test, if we have time, I do a little, I call it lane idle, where everybody has to get up and sing and come up with their own form of quadratic formula song. All right. So, but there's this little song, and it goes to an old nursery rhyme. Okay, and the song goes to an old nursery rhyme, and it goes just kind of read with the bouncing ball. It starts with negative b, plus or minus square root, plus or minus square root, b squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac, over 2a, over 2a. I know, I can hear you laughing now. All right, so it starts off negative b, plus or minus, and then square root, plus or minus square root, b squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac, over 2a, over 2a, okay? So that's a little song to help you memorize that. You will be singing it in class tomorrow if you're viewing this and you're in my class, all right? So get ready. I'll sing it again one more time for you because I know you're just want to hear my voice so bad. A negative b, plus or minus square root, plus or minus square root, b squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac, over 2a, over 2a. Kind of got a low there. All right, so let's look at how we're going to solve this. All right, of course, the a, b, and c in the quadratic formula is going to be the a, b, and c for our standard form. All right, so a is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, and c is your constant. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is identify a, b, and c. So in this case, a would equal 1, b, remember to take the sign with a number, is negative 5, and c is negative 36. Sorry about that. All right, so now all you have to do is plug it into the formula. Now, you notice that the formula starts off with negative b, or you can say the opposite of b. So the opposite of b, if b is negative 5, the opposite would be 5. Plus or minus square root. B squared minus 4AC. Do you remember where we used that before? B squared minus 4AC? Right, that's discriminant. All right, remember discriminant tells us how many solutions we have. So believe me, it will come in handy when you're working a quadratic formula, because it's doing the formula is not hard, it's just it can get long, okay? All right, so b squared minus 4ac. So b is -5 squared minus 4 times a times c. All of that divided or over 2 times a. All right, so 5 plus minus square root. Now put all this little stuff, the discriminant, put it in your calculator. Don't put the square root. A lot of you want to go ahead and do the square root. Don't do that. So we've got -5 squared, which is 25, minus 4 times 1 times -36 is 169, and all of that divided by 2. Now, 169 is positive, right? So that's positive. So remember, for discriminant is positive, you're going to have 2 solutions. All right, so that comes in handy. We're going to have to split. All right, so 100 is square root of 169. Does anybody remember that 169 is a square root, is a perfect square? If you don't, put it in your calculator and you'll see it's 13 and 2. You say, well, this is plus and minus. Which one are we doing, plus or minus? Well, we're doing both. We're going to split off, okay? We're going to do one of them as 5 plus 13 divided by 2. And then the other one is 5 minus 13 divided by 2. So that's going to equal 18 divided by 2, which is 9. And this is going to be -8 divided by 2, which is -4. So there's our solutions. 9 and -4. And you would just put them in a little grouping there. Remember, do your, what do they call them, italices? Instead of regular parentheses, do these instead. Mine's gone blank. I can't remember the exact name for those. All right. So let's, and remember that formula, because I don't believe it's on the EOC reference sheet. All right. So we've got x squared minus 8x equals 20. Well, I need my a, b, and c, right? Well, I don't have c, but it should always be equal to 0. Okay? So I need to make this equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides. So it becomes x squared minus 8x minus 20 equals 0. All right, so now a is 1, b is -8, and c is -20. Okay. All right, so opposite of b. So b's -8, so we're going to put 8 plus or minus square root of b squared. Oops. Kind of got ahead of myself. Minus 4 times a times c. And all of that divided by 2 times a. All right, so this is going to equal 8 plus or minus square root of 144 over 2. Well, my discriminant, b squared minus 4ac, is positive, so that means I'm going to have two solutions. So 8 plus or minus 12 is 2. So now I'm going to split. So 8 plus 12 divided by 2, and 8 minus 12 divided by 2. So this equals 20 divided by 2, which is 10. And then this equals negative 4 divided by 2, which is negative 2. So my solutions are 10 and negative 2. Okay. All right, let's see. Oh, look at this one. I got 3x squared minus 12 equals 0. Well, it's set to 0. What do I not have? Okay, a is a coefficient of x squared, right? So a is 3. B is the coefficient of x. Do I have an x? No. So b is going to be 0. And then c is your constant. It's your number without a variable. Okay? All right, so we go ahead and you say, well, what am I going to do with 0? Just calm down. Calm down. It'll work. All right, so we're going to plug in our numbers. So opposite of b, well, 0 is 0. Plus or minus square root of b squared, which is 0, minus 4 times a times b over 2 times a. So we got 0 plus or minus. This is going to be 0 and plus 144. When you put all that in there, a negative and a negative makes a positive, so it's 144 over 6. All right, so square root of 144 is a perfect square of 0 plus or minus 12 divided by 6. You say, well, I got a positive, I should have two solutions, but I got 0 there. Well, it's still 0 plus 12 divided by 6 and 0 minus 12 divided by 6. So it's 2 and negative 2. Okay. All right. Okay. Turn over. Let's go and look at number 7. All right. Remember when we were talking about discriminant? We can have 3 amounts of solutions. We can have, if it's positive, 2 solutions. If my discriminant is negative, then it's no solution. And if my discriminant is 0, then it's 1 solution, right? All right, so remember that. Okay. So if we look at this one, boy, it's a mess there. We need this to equal 0. Remember, it needs to equal 0 before we can put it in the formula, because we need A, B, and C. So I need to add 10 over here. So I get x squared plus 7x plus 10 equals x. And I need to get rid of that x. So I'm going to subtract it. When I do, that'll leave me with 0, right? That'll go away and it'll be 0 then. So we'll be good. But I need to subtract it over here as well. So now our formula is going to end up, our equation is going to end up being x squared, and then 7x minus x is 6x plus 10 equals 0. Okay. All right, so now it's equal to 0. That means we can say A is 1 B is 6, and C is 10. All right, so now we're going to put those into our formula. Opposite of B, which would be negative 6, plus or minus square root of B squared, so 6 squared minus 4 times A times C over 2 times A. So that's going to be negative 6 plus or minus square root of 36 minus 40 over 2, which is plus or minus square root of 36 minus 40 is negative 4 over 2. Our discriminant, or B squared minus 4AC, our discriminant is a negative number, right? And what did we say if our discriminant is a negative number? What happens? Then there is no solution. Okay? Try putting square root of negative 4 in your calculator. Alright, it's not going to do that. At least not in Algebra 1. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Alright, let's see. Let's look at, I told you that we use the quadratic formula a lot of times when we can't factor it because it's decimals and stuff. Well, we hadn't seen a decimal yet, have we? Alright, well, let's look at this. Okay, solve each equation using the quadratic formula. Write all the irrational solutions in simplest radical form. Oh. Alright, so it is equal to 0, so we're good. A is 1, B is 4, and C is 1. So opposite of B, negative 4 plus or minus square root of B squared minus 4 times 1 times C, which is 1, over 2 times 1. So it's going to be negative 4 plus or minus square root of 16 minus 4, which is 12, over 2. All right, well, square root 12 is not going to give you a nice little whole number, is it? It's not going to end up being a decimal. Let's simplify this radical, though. We know that 3 times 4 is 12, right? And 4 is a perfect square, so this could be 2 square root of 3 over 2. And 2 will go into that, into negative 4, negative 2 times. And 2 will go into 2 one time. So it's, you don't have to write that 1. So it's 2 plus or minus the square root of 3. All right, now, let's say that you're taking the EOC. And they have your choices A, B, and C. C is your answer. Here it is. But you got this far right here. But you forgot how to simplify that radical. All right? Say, I know this is the answer, but I can't remember how to simplify that radical, so I'm not sure which one it is. All right, if you take your calculator, if you put negative 2 plus the square root of 3, then you're going to get negative 0.2679949, okay? If you put in your calculator this right here, negative 4, and just put plus, square root of 12, and tell you what, clear that. Put parentheses. Negative 4 plus square root of 12. Then close your parentheses and divide it by 2. You're going to get negative 0.267949. Alright, they match, don't they? Alright, so whenever you're dealing with radicals and you got a simplified radical, if you're not sure which one's which, you just had a blank and you're not sure how to, about if you simplified your radical correctly, put what you got as your answer and then plug the choices in and see which one matches. Okay, so this is the same thing as that. Okay, I need you to remember that for your EOC test. What I will take right now is you can take this, the negative 4 plus or minus square root of 12 over 2, and you can split it. Negative 4 plus square root of 12 divided by 2, and negative 4 minus square root of 12 divided by 2. Now, when you're putting something in your calculator, if you've got more than one term in your numerator, you need to put parentheses in there before you put that divide. Because if you don't, it's only going to divide the last term by 2, not the whole thing. This is a difference of. So we need to put parentheses because we're dividing the difference of, not just square root of 12. All right. So in my calculator, I would put negative 4. I would put parentheses negative 4 minus square root 12, close parentheses, divided by 2. And I'm going to get negative 3.732. Now if I put this one in, I'm going to put parentheses, negative 4 plus square root of 12, close parentheses, divided by 2. And I'm going to get negative 0.2679. Okay, we'll leave it there. All right, so you can say that these are your answers. Okay. But I will tell you, it's really good practice to practice simplifying those radicals. Okay. Let's do one more here. Let's do number 13. All right, I need to get rid of these by doing the opposite and do the same thing over here. All right, to make that equal 0, so we'll have 2x squared, so we got 2 of them, right, minus 8x plus 3 equals 0. Okay, so A is 2, B is negative 8, and C is 3. So let's plug it in. Opposite of B, which would be positive 8, plus or minus square root B squared, so negative 8 squared, minus 4 times A, which is 2, times C, which is 3, over 2 times A. And y'all, they could put this on the no calculator part. It'd be rough. All right, so negative 8 squared is 64, minus 4 times 6, 24, divided by 4. So that's going to be 8 plus or minus square root of 40. over 4. All right, well, we know 40 is 4 times 10, right? 4 is a perfect square. So that 2 can come out, 10 stays home, right? So we would have 8 plus or minus 2 square root of 10 over 4. And when we can divide, well, I can simplify because I can't divide 4 in there evenly. So I can simplify. And let's say 2. 2 will go into 8 4 times. 2 will go into 2 1 time. And 2 will go into 4 2 times. All right, so this is my simplified radical answer. You can split it off into a plus. 4 plus square root of 10. Oops. You don't know that one yet, do you? Have to go back to your before. Okay, we'll go back to here. You can go to 8 plus square root of 40 in parentheses divided by 4, and 8 minus square root of 40 in parentheses divided by 4. And let's see what that would be. Parentheses 8 plus square root 40 divided by 4. So that would give me 3.58. And then I can do parentheses 8 minus square root of 40 divided by 4. And that would give me 0.4188, so just round it to 9. Okay, so they would be the same thing. If you put 8 plus square root of 40 and 4 plus square root of 10 divided by the 2 and divided by the 4, they'll get the same thing, okay? All right. Get you some scratch paper. And you're going to have to show your work when you do this, okay? I want to see all your steps. Okay. Have a good evening.